In this video we're going to cover the disassembly, inspection, cleaning, and reassembly of the carburetor that is on our engine. At this point in time I'm going to assume or expect you to turn this off, go ahead and follow the previous video on removing the carburetor and the instructions found within. We're going to start, now that we've got the carburetor removed, we're going to make sure that we have a nice clean surface to work on when we're working on carburetors. We're going to take this rag and we're going to place this down. So we have our carburetor. First thing we've got to do is take the float bowl off. It's held on by a bolt. We're going to remove that using a 13mm socket. Remember, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, so I'm rotating it to the left, or counterclockwise, or anti-clockwise, depending on how you've learned it. I'm going to remove the bolt and set it aside because we are going to need to do some inspection to that. I'm going to remove the cover. There's a seal here. We just want to make sure that we protect it. So once we take the cover off, we can see the insides of the carburetor. Alright, so there's a couple of jets down inside the tube there. Those gold colored ones, those are the big one is the high-speed tube, and the little one is the idle tube. So we're going to have to make sure that those are clean. We want to check out the float. So the float is this white piece that pivots on older engines. It's actually brass soldered together. And you'll see that there's a little silver needle right by my fingertip there. And as the float opens and closes, that needle moves up and down, up and down. So when the float is in the up position, that needle is pushed up and it plugs the hole, and fuel can't get down the pickup tube or the fuel tube down into the float bowl. When the float falls down, it unblocks the hole, so as you use up fuel, the float drops, and then fuel can travel down into the bowl. We want to take that off very carefully. There's a little pin here, so we just got to push it out. Should come out either way. So we have the pin, and we have the float, and you can see the hole, the brass, that's where the fuel comes in. And on the bottom of the float is the needle. We just want to make sure that that needle is clean, doesn't have any crud on it, that kind of thing. Okay, so at this point in time, this carburetor is fully disassembled. There's no way we can get the jets out. There's no jets to come out per se. There are jets, but they're built into it. We just want to make sure that all the passageways are clear. So how we do that is we blow through them, make sure that we can pass. We can blow through them. Make sure that they look clear. We can always blow compressed air through it. We can always use needles and wires and stuff to kind of fish through them and make sure they're clean. It's hard to see, but if you look, so that's the choke end, and there's also some tubes coming out there. You got to make sure those are clean. But if you look in the throttle, if you look down there very carefully, you should see three little holes. I got to get it positioned just right for the camera. Three little holes. Those are the transfer ports. So right now, fuel comes out the first one. When it's idling, as you throttle it up, the second and third one, and there's actually four there, second, third, fourth, one become exposed, dumping more fuel in until you've wide open throttle, and the high-speed tube, the big fat one there, picks it up. Last thing we want to check, so assuming we've made sure all those are clean and ready to go, last thing we want to check is the plug. On this particular model, there's holes in the plug. There's a hole in the center. And there's a hole in the side there. Can't really see it, but it's there. Fuel has to flow through that hole, and so it can go up into the pickup tube. That's what this groove is for. So we want to make sure that that's clean too. So after everything's all clean and dandy, we want to reassemble. So we have the needle on the end of the float. Put that into the hole. So needle in the float, put that into the hole. We then need to put the pin through. And I'm going to do a function test once that pin is in there. I'm going to push the float down, seal it up, and see if I can blow through here. Let the float drop, see if I can then, if it then blow through. If that checks, we're good to go. So it's passed the function test. Make sure the pin is centered. Put our seal on. Make sure it sits down onto the groove. Put the cover back on. Put this back on. And then we'll tighten this up. Hand tight. That's all we should need. And then we'll go ahead and reassemble the carburetor on the engine, as per the last lab's instructions in the video previously.